Cheer, you know what time it is. Let's go! Yo, banging on the beat, breaking the concrete, defeating demons on a daily basis, glowing radiance, raising the consciousness to the most high status, Lumen lyrical brightness, supreme natural intelligence. There's no coincidence that I'm rocking, feeding the knowledge to the masses, vets and youth, always speak the fire of truth, wisdom. Life is about growth or development, so build your light for the tests in life. Never give up, never let up, that's what's up, you know what time it is. So push forward, elevate your mind in the sun and rise.
Yeah, check it, listen, coming through, fire bun. I'm an intellectual to the precise decimal of mathematical root radicals. So receive this, I mean this, the fire of truth. From the sheer might, the fire of truth. Preach, teach, the fire of truth.
Just levitate, levitate, keep your head straight. Just levitate, levitate. Even if the world is so cold, we just levitate, levitate. Shift these spies.
What time it is? You know what time it is, my brothers and sisters. Your powerful brother in the fire of truth, Live Blaze Sanctuary, is back again with more information and supreme intelligence that's going to get you walking in the right direction. So anyways, my brothers and sisters, we're going to be continuing on part 4 as it pertains to silent weapons for silent wars. We're going to the highlights now. We're going to be skipping over some of the mathematical equation breakdown stuff for the economics, because I feel that part's not really necessary. The main part is the economic shock testing I want to show you right now, so you can receive this information. You need to know about this because they're manipulating you through economics. Listen to reason and listen to wisdom. So let's get right to the matter at hand. Let's get the show on the road. Let me share the screen and we're going to be continuing from here. So we're going to be moving on to the economic shock testing. Mainly, this stuff up here is mainly the equation stuff, breaking down the equations for how they're manipulating and using energy. You guys could go read that on your own. Skip that part. This is where we left off here. This paragraph, this is all the equation stuff and diagrams. I'm just getting to the highlights to put this part to a conclusion, hopefully. So, we're going to be starting at economic shock testing. As it pertains to this document, silent weapons for silent wars. In recent times, the application of operations research to study of the public economy has been obvious for anyone who understands the principles of shock testing. In the in the shock testing of an aircraft airframe, the recoil impulse of firing a gun mounted on that airframe causes shock waves in that structure, which tells aviation engineers the conditions under which some parts of the airplane or the whole airplane or its wings will start to vibrate or flutter like a guitar string, a flute reed, or a tuning fork, and disintegrate or fall apart in flight. Economic engineers achieve the same result in studying the behavior of the economy and the consumer public by carefully selecting a staple commodity, such as beef, coffee, gasoline, or sugar, and then causing a sudden change or shock in its price or availability, thus kicking everybody's budget and buying habits out of shape. Listen, take notes. They then observe the shock waves which result by monitoring the changes in advertising, prices, and sales of that and other commodities. The objective of such studies is to acquire the know-how to set the public economy into a predictable state of motion or change. Even a controlled self-destructive state of motion, which will convince the public that certain expert people should take control of the money system and re-establish security, rather than liberty and justice for all. When the subject citizens are rendered unable to control their financial affairs, and we know that finance is dealing with your ability to control energy. Remember, this is all about control of energy. Using money is just a symbol of your energy. It's just a symbol. It's all about controlling your energy. Currency is energy. Current in the sea of life. That's energy. When the subject citizens are rendered unable to control their financial affairs, they of course become totally enslaved. A source of cheap labor. So you're seeing it here. This is how you're controlled. This is how you're enslaved. They manipulate the economy. They make you reliant on the system, on their currency, legal tender, which is only a symbol of you. You're the real money. Like I've already mentioned several times before, you are the actual money, because you're the one who's actually putting in the effort to create something. Whether you're doing it intellectually or physically, you are the money, not the paper. That's just a symbol of you. The money that you have is based on your skill set. That's you. But they put your eyes on a piece of paper, to make you think that's valuable, and that's not the value. The value is in your ability to service, to provide something that other people's can't. So your intellectual ability, your physical ability is the real money. And they control you by manipulating how the economy functions. So, economy engineers achieve the same result in studying the behavior of the economy and the consumer public by carefully selecting a staple commodity such as beef, coffee, gasoline, sugar, and then causing a sudden change or shock in its price or availability, thus kicking everybody's budget and buying habits out of shape. They then observe the shock waves which result by monitoring the changes in advertising, prices, and sales of that and other commodities. The objective of such studies is to acquire the know-how. It's all about knowledge, right? Knowledge is power, don't they say that? The objective of such studies is to acquire the know-how to set the public economy into a predictable state of motion or change. So the knowledge is to predict how people are going to act and move. Remember, mind over matters makes you the master. That makes you the causer of the effect. When your mind is subjected to the matters, that means you're the effect. That leads to your disaster, as I always tell you. Mind over matters makes you the master. When your mind is subjected to the matters, subject means you're a slave or you're controlled, that leads to your disaster. And that's why they manipulate the economy, because they want to control you. They set it up in a way so they could predict how the people are going to move in the economy and predict the changes and how it's going to affect the energy motion in the economy. The objective of such studies is to acquire the know-how to set up the public economy into a predictable state of motion or change. Even a controlled, self-destructive state of motion, which will convince the public that certain expert people should take control of the money system and reestablish security. So when they say take control of the money system, the energy system, and reestablish security, control, rather than liberty and justice for all. So controlling the energy system. For all, when subjected citizens are rendered unable to control their financial affairs, their energy, they of course become totally enslaved, a source of cheap labor. They become debtors rather than creditors. That's what makes them a slave, because they become a debtor. And that's what they want. They want slaves. So people who owes debt are slaves because they have to pay back the creditors, right? They borrowed from the creditor, and if they can't pay it back, they're gonna have to provide their service somehow to pay it back, right? That makes you a slave, right? Not only the prices of commodities, but also the availability of labor can be used as the means of shock testing. Labor strikes deliver excellent test shocks to an economy, especially in the critical service areas of trucking, transportation, communication, public utilities, energy, water, garbage collection, etc. By shock testing, it is found that there is a direct relationship between the availability of money flowing in an economy and the real psychological outlook of response of the masses of people dependent upon that availability. For example, there is a measurable quantitative relationship between the price of gasoline and the probability that a person would experience a headache, feel a need to watch a violent movie, smoke a cigarette, or go to a tavern for a mug of beer. Focus on that. These are drug habits that people take on. And that's part of the way to control people. It is most interesting that by observing and measuring the economic models by which the public tries to run from their problems and escape from reality, and by applying the mathematical theory of operations research, it is possible to program computers to predict the most probable combination of created events, shocks, which will bring about a complete control and subjugation, slavehood, of the public through subversion of the public economy by shaking the plum tree. Shake and bake, right? Shake and bake. Introduction to theory of economic shock testing. Let the prices and total sales of commodities be given and symbolized as follows. Jason Kim, Jogela, what's poppin'? Let the prices and total sales of commodities be given and symbolized as follows. Commodities are alcoholic beverages, beef, coffee, gasoline, sugar, tobacco, unknown balances. These are examples. That goes from A, B, C, G, S, T, U. Total sales, as you see here. So let's move on. Let us assume a simple economic model in which the total number of important staple commodities are represented as beef, gasoline, and aggregate of other staple commodities, which we will call the hypothetical miscellaneous staple commodity. M, example. M is an aggregate of C, S, T, U. Coffee, sugar, tobacco, and unknown balance. That's what they're referring to for this example. Example of shock testing. Assume that the total sales, P, of petroleum products can be described by the linear function of the quantities B, G, and M, which are functions of the prices of those respective commodities. P equals APG B plus APG G plus APM M. Then where B, G, and M are functions of the prices of beef, gasoline, and miscellaneous, respectively, and APB, APG, and APM are constant coefficients defining the amount by which each of the functions B, G, and M affect the sales of petroleum products. We are assuming that B, G, and M are variables independent of each other. If the availability or price of gasoline is suddenly changed, then G must be replaced by G plus G. This causes a change in petroleum sales from P to P plus P. Also, we assume that B and M remain constant when G changes to G plus G. Expand upon this expression, we get P plus. P equals APG B plus APG G plus APG. Let me skip some of this. I think this is this. Let's get to the highlight points. Where are we at? Let's get to the main point here. So let's get to the introduction of economic amplifiers. Economic amplifiers are active components of economic engineering. The basic characteristics of any amplifier, mechanical, electrical, or economic, is that it receives an input control signal and delivers energy from independent energy source. So this is more of a highlight here. Focus on this. I would say focus on these equations in your own personal time if you want to understand the mathematical side of it. But that's like, to me, that's like the boring side for most people. So I'm going to focus more on the highlights where it's more easily understood with here. So introduction to economic amplifiers. Economic amplifiers are the active components of economic engineering. The basic characteristics of any amplifier, mechanical, electrical, economic, is that it receives an input control signal, transmission, it's all about energy, right? And delivers energy from an independent energy source to a specified output terminal in a predictable relationship to that input control signal. The simplest form of economic amplifier is a device called advertising. If a person is spoken to by a television, telling you your vision, in other words, is giving you visions to control you to take a certain action. So advertising is a strategy used to manipulate you in purchasing something. Whether it's a good way, it could be used as a good thing, or a good way or bad way. Keep that in mind. It's all about energy control. Advertising is a way to attract the masses to purchase something. So controlling how you spend your energy, your currency. If a person is spoken to by a television, telling you your vision, telepathic vision, subliminal programming, and control manipulation. So if a person is spoken to by a TV advertiser as if he were a 12-year-old, then due to suggestibility, highlight suggestibility, it's a subtle way of controlling you and controlling your choices. Suggestibility, he will, with a certain probability, respond or react to that suggestion. Did you hear that? This is highlight here. This is about economic control. This is how they control the masses economically. If a person is spoken to by a TV, and what does a TV do? Tells you your vision. They're advertising something to you to get you to purchase it, to get you to take action towards something. That's what they're trying to do with the television when they advertise something. As if it were a 12-year-old, then due to suggestibility, highlight, he or she will, certain with probability, respond or react to that suggestion with the uncritical response of a 12-year-old, and will reach into his economic reservoir, energy reservoir, that's how you could look at it, and deliver its energy to that product on impulse when he passes it in the store. Did you hear that? So as they're saying here, they're mentioning a 12-year-old here. So they're trying to drop your guard to get you act like a spontaneous young one. Just oh, that's cool, let me get that. They want to control you. And some of those things they may be selling you may be good. Some of them may be a waste of your time. But they want you to control the way you spend money. Or your energy. Whatever you're purchasing, whether it's a product or service. Entertainment. Entertained within your mind. They use the art of what? The art of distraction, misdirection, and deception to get you to take action to whatever they're trying to sell you. So if a person is spoken to by a television telling you your vision, advertiser, as if it were a 12-year-old, then due to suggestibility, he or she will be with certain probability respond or react to that suggestion with the uncritical response of a 12-year-old. So they don't want you to critically think. They just want you to be wowed, be attracted, and purchase. That's what they want. They don't want you to think too much. That's the whole point here. They don't want you to be thinking too much. And whether you actually need it or not, they just want you to get it. They want you to take an action. So they make that suggestion with the uncritical response of a 12-year-old and will reach into the economic reservoir and deliver its energy to deliver the energy to that product on impulse when he passes it in the store. An economic amplifier may have several inputs and outputs. Its response might be instantaneous or delayed. It's a circuit symbol might be a rotary switch. If its options are exclusive, quantitative, go or no go, or it might have a parametric input-output relationship specified by a matrix with internal energy sources represented. Julie Nando, what's poppin'? Turbo Scuba, it's poppin'. Yep, the power of suggestion, exactly. Mr. Wang, I see what's poppin'. So its response might be instantaneous or delayed. Its circuit symbol might be rotary switch if its options are exclusive, qualitative, or go or no go. It might have parametric input-output relationships specified by a matrix, made up tricks, with internal energy sources represented. Whatever its form might be, its purpose is to govern. Ooh, highlight there. I've told you already, it's all about controlling energy. They're doing this economically. They do it at many different levels. They do it mentally or psychologically. Television is part of that process. They do it spiritually through energy. Soulfully, they move you with music, sound of the soul, through your soul. Or they may be doing it physically in some way through physical stimulus. Drugs, physical stimulus, somehow, to get you to take action, to do something. Whatever its form might be, its purpose is to govern. What does govern mean? Control. Government. Govern means to control or manipulate. Ment is short for mentality. So control your mentality, control your mind. That's what a government is. That's the root source of what government, when you break it down, is. What it defines. So govern is all about manipulation, control. The flow of energy, so its purpose is to govern or to control the flow of energy from a source to an output sink in a direct relationship to an input control signal. For this reason, it is called an active circuit element or component. Economic amplifiers fall into classes called strategies. And in comparison with electronic amplifiers, the specific internal functions of an economic amplifier are called logistical instead of electrical. Therefore, economic amplifiers not only deliver power, but also, in effect, are used to cause changes in the economy circuitry. See, it's all about electrical, magnetic, light, sound movement. That's how they control you, through those elements and forces of nature. In the design of an economic amplifier, and you notice that they're using this economic science and relating it to energy movement. So the matrix is what? The motherboard. In the design of economic amplifiers, we must have some idea of at least 5 functions, which are the available input signals, the desired output control objectives, the strategic objective, the available economic power sources, the logical options here. So that's 5. The available input signals, the desired output control objectives, the strategic objectives, the available economic power sources, the logistical options. The process of defining and evaluating these factors and incorporating the economic amplifiers into the economic system has been popularly called game theory. The design of economic amplifiers begins with a specification of a power level of the output, which can range from personal to national. The second condition is accuracy or response. Example, how accurately the output action is a function of the input commands. Are you paying attention? Remember, this is about controlling of energy. So they're using input commands. We're speaking at We're speaking at a computer science right now. This is just another way of saying control over you. They're giving you input commands or programs so the output can take a specific action. High gain combined with strong feedback helps to deliver the required precision. Most of the error will be in the input data signal. Personal input data tends to be specified, while national input data tends to be statistical. Short list of inputs, questions to be answered. What, where, why, when, how, who. General sources of information. Telephone taps. Analysis of garbage. Surveillance. Highlight. They're watching they're watching everything you do, right? That's why they're setting up the AI infrastructure in full effect with the 5G generation, which is the Internet of Things, connecting all things and making it one. Mind, one body. That's what 5G brings. It allows everything to become one mind and one body. Behavior of children in school, standards of living. Food, shelter, clothing, transportation, social contacts, telephone, itemized record of calls, family, marriage certificates, birth certificates, etc., friends, associates, etc., memberships in organizations, political affiliations. Isn't that what Facebook is? All that information to gather from you. All the social medias you're on, that's what they're gathering from you. Surveillance. They're creating a grand database in all the citizens of the world. They're getting all detailed information of everybody in the world through surveillance. That's why they have the all-seeing eye everywhere. And they're building that infrastructure through the 5G network that connects everything into one so they could surveillance everybody through economic control. The personal paper trail. Wake up the dead, what's poppin'? This is the fourth part, brother. Silent weapons for silent wars. You need to go back to the first part, man. You're late, man. This is the fourth part here. The personal paper trail. Personal buying habits. Personal consumer preferences. Checking accounts. Credit card purchases. Tagged credit card purchases. The credit card purchases of products bearing the UPC Universal Product Code. Assets. Checking accounts. Savings accounts. Real estate. Business at automobiles. Safety deposit at bank. Stock market liabilities. Creditors. Enemies. Legal or criminal activity that you may have. Loans. Government sources. Welfare, Social Security, USDA, surplus food, doles, grants, subsidies. See, they're monitoring all these and everybody. All these are being monitored. This is the economic science as it pertains to energetic control. Principles of this ploy. The citizens will almost always make the collection of information easy if he can operate on the free sandwich principle of eat now and pay later. Government sources via intimidation. Internal Revenue Services. OSHA, census, etc. Other government sources, surveillance or mail, or of U.S. mail, etc., or mail in general, not just America. It's the world. Habit patterns, programming. Highlight this, programming, that's what it's all about. Controlling the minds of the masses. Whoever controls the minds of the masses is the king, is the ruler, is the god. That makes you the master over the matters. So habit patterns, programming, strengths and weaknesses, activities, sports, hobbies, legal, fear, anger, etc., crime record, criminal record, hospital records, drug sensitivities, reactions to pain, etc., psychiatric records, fears, angers, disgust, adaptability, reactions to stimuli, violence, suggestibility or hypnosis, pain, pleasure, love, and sex. 7 deadly sins right there. They control the people through the 7 deadly sins. Sloth, laziness, lust, greed, gluttony, wrath, envy, pride. You just heard it. Methods of coping or adaptability behavior. Consumption of alcohol. Isn't this a real pandemic right here? The abuse of alcohol. This is the real problem here. This is the real pandemic. Abuse of alcohol. Consumptions of drugs. Real pandemic. Whatever various kind it may be, over consuming of drugs. Entertainment. When you break this down, enter taint within your mind. So taint is entering your mind, and the whole purpose of entering taint in your mind is to tame you in a cage, in chains, to control you. Religious factors influencing behavior. So they're taking advantage of your religious control to further regulate you. Other methods of escaping from reality. Payment modus operandum, MO, pay on time, etc. Payment of telephone bills, energy purchases, water purchases. Repayment of loans, house payments, automobile payments, payments on credit cards, political sensitivity. Beliefs, contacts, positions, strengths, weaknesses, projects, activities. Legal inputs. Behavior controls, excuses for investigation, search, arrest, or employment of force to modify behavior. Court records, police records, NCIC, driving record, reports made to police, insurance information, anti-establishment acquaintances. So you're seeing the surveillance that they're doing on the masses. They're keeping records of everybody individually to have details upon everybody. And they're always constantly monitoring your situation. Every time you're on your phone, they're always constantly monitoring the updates and upgrades on your situation. Legal inputs, behavior control excuses for investigation, search, arrest, and employment force to modify behavior. So national input information, business, prices of commodities, sales, investments in stocks, inventory, production tools, and machinery, building improvements, the stock market, banks, and credit bureaus, credit information, payment information, miscellaneous sources, polls, and surveys. Publications, telephone records, energy and utility purchases. They're using all these things to set up a social credit system like they have in China. So you're going to lose out on certain privileges if you don't pay your bills on time, if you're not obeying traffic laws, various different things. And they're going to allow this to be public for everybody to see what type of citizen you are. If you're a good citizen that follows the rules, or if you're a bad citizen doesn't follow the rules. They want to set that social credit system out here. That's the whole purpose of the monitoring all this. They're going to keep a record of everybody on their credibility, overall credibility. Short list of outputs. Outputs create controlled situations. Manipulation of economy, hence society, control by control of compensation and income. Allocates opportunities, 1. Destroys opportunities, 2. Controls economic environment, 3. Controls availability of raw materials, 4. Controls capital, 5. Controls bank rates, 6. Controls inflation of the currency, 7. Controls the possession of property, 8. Controls industrial capacity, 9. Controls manufacturing, 10. Controls availability of goods, commodities, 11. Controls the prices of commodities, 12. Controls services, the labor force, etc., 13. Controls payments to government officials, 14. Controls legal functions, 15. Controls the personal data files, uncorruptible by the party slandered, 16. Controls advertising, 17. Controls media contact, 18. Controls material available for TV viewing, 19. Disengages attention from real issues. Woo, highlight this. 20. Disengages attention from real issues. That's the art of what? Misdirection, distraction, and deception. Sheesh. Disengages the attention from real issues. 20. That's highlight there, man. Sheesh. Truth blazing. Facts blazing. Facts being manufactured in a factory. Fire blast. Fire bun. Let's go. Sheesh. Disengages attention from real issues.
What? Slow motion this side.
So if you're not focused on this channel, if you're not focused on finding the truth, you're being manipulated to act like a fool, act like an idiot. You're being manipulated to waste your time. Life is about growth and development. So you should be focusing on the truth and what's truly going on in this world. So this is the main reason here. Highlight here. 20. Disengages your attention from real issues. That's why a lot of people have short attention spans. They came and checked out what I was saying. Oh, this guy's talking about conspiracy theories. Let me watch something. Let me go watch my Netflix. This is exactly what it is. These people are being manipulated to watch entertainment. So those people who came and went, they disengage their attention from real issues. We're talking about real issues right now. Those people that came and left, those are the slave class. 21 engages emotions. The people who do not know how to control their emotions, energy and motions, are the ones who get set up. When you get upset, that means you got set up. Engages emotions. So if you better learn how to control your energy and motion, your emotions. Creates disorder, chaos, and insanity. That's 22. Controls design or more probing tax forms. 23. So they're robbing you of your energy, stealing a piece of your energy that you've earned, right? 24. Controls surveillance, controls the storage of information. 25. 26. Develops psychological analysis and profiles of individuals. Facebook, social media, your credit, criminal record, they're setting it all up. Storage of that information to know who you are, know your habits, know how you operate. They study your psychological behavior. How do they do that? Your habits on the internet, your phone. And in person, through covert means. Controls legal functions, 27. 28. Controls sociological factors. 29. Controls health options. Oh, you must get a vaccine if you want to be safe, right? Controlling your health options. If you don't get the vaccine, you're going to lose some privileges, right? To operate in society. That's what some people are saying, right? You can't travel because you didn't get a vaccine. 30. Preys on weaknesses. 31. Cripples strength. 32. Leeches wealth and substances. So those drug addicts. Tables of strategies. Do this. Keep the public ignorant. Ooh, sheesh. Sheesh. Keep the public ignorant is one of the strategies. Less public organization. Ooh! What does this say right here, my brothers and sisters? What does this say? United we stand stronger. Together we rise higher. It says here, keep the public ignorant. Less public organization, meaning they want to keep the people divided. They don't want you organized. They want to keep you divided, fighting with each other over petty things, keep you distracted, misdirected, stuck on entertainment, wasting your time, not focusing on your growth and elevation, your growth and development. With it, life is all about growth and development. They don't want you to learn how to become a producer. They don't want you to become a creditor. They want you to remain a slave, to be a debtor. They want to keep you as a debtor rather than a creditor. So you're seeing it here. United we stand stronger, together we rise higher. Divided the people fall. You better be standing strong in that foundation of truth. So the first strategy, keep the public ignorant. So by YouTube, for example, censoring, suppressing, and shadow banning my channel is an example of keeping the public ignorant, because they don't want this truth to get out. Less public organization. Next one is maintain access to control. Required reaction to outputs, prices, points for feedback, sales, creates preoccupation. So they always want to keep you preoccupied with something all the time. Keep you distracted through entertainment. Keep you preoccupied. Lower your defenses. They want you to kick back and watch entertainment. That's when your defenses gets lowered. And that's when they inject the programs in that entertainment to manipulate how you think and how you move in life. Because when you watch entertainment, you're laid back, just enjoying the show, right? You're just taking it all in, and that's exactly what they want. They don't want you to have that filter on. They just want you to sit back and enjoy the show. And that's when they take advantage of you. Sheesh! Truth blazing, facts blazing, facts being manufactured in the factory. Fire blast, fire burn, let's go! Sheesh! Create preoccupation, lowers defense.
What? Slow motion this side.
Attack the family unit. Control of the education of the young. Give less cash and more away. More self-indulgence and more data credit and doles. Sheesh. What is self-indulgence? Example is greed, gluttony, lust. Those are the ultimate ways used to control you. To make you what? Wrathful, angry? To make you make stupid decisions? That's how they set you up. They get you upset to set you up. They use the 7 deadly sins against you. Attack the privacy of the church. Destroy faith in the sort of government. Social conformity. Computer programming simplicity. Minimize the tax protest. Maximum economic data. Minimum enforcement problems. Stabilize the consent. Contract is law. Law is contract. Stabilize consent. Simplicity coefficients. Tighten control of variables. Simpler computer inputs data. Greater predictability. Establish boundary conditions. Problem simplicity solution of differential and different equations. Proper timing, less data shift and blurring. Maximize control. Minimum resistance to control. Maximize control. Minimum resistance to control. Sheesh, man. Maximum control, government. Minimum resistance to control. collapse of currency, destroy faith of the people in each other.
What? Slow motion this side.
I'm just letting that, let that marinate on your mind, man. Let that sit and marinate. Let be seasoned in that strategy and tactic. You're seeing how they control you at all different levels. Mentally, physically, spiritually, soulfully. Using psychological sorcery tactics, manipulation, weapons of mass destruction, which is words of art to attract and draw you in. The art of deception, the art of distraction, the art of misdirection. Manipulating you through the 7 deadly sins. The next subsection. Diversion, the primary strategy. Experience has prevent that simplest method of securing a silent weapon and gaining control of the public is to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of the basic system principles on the one hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance. Sheesh! Truth blazing, facts blazing, facts being manufactured in a factory. You know what time it is, my brothers and sisters. Fire blaze, fire burn. Listen to the fire of truth. Think truth. Speak truth. Live truth. Sheesh! You need to listen. Diversion, the primary strategy. Experience has prevented that the simplest method of securing a silent weapon and gaining control of the public is to keep the public undisciplined. What's another word for undisciplined? No religion. Hey Nathan, don't isn't religion a control system? So what you talking about? It sounds like you're contradicting yourself. No. When I'm saying religion, I'm talking about the true essence of religion. True religion is discipline. It's self-control. Self-discipline. Structure and order. Morals and principles. The elite operate by true religion. True spirituality, which is the energy work. Living those actions in live dynamic radical action. Religion is simply structure and order, morals and principles, organization. That's religion. Spirituality is the movement of those principles in action. It's energy work. It's learning how to control your energy. That's spirituality. Learning how to interface with other energies. Learning how to connect to the source and the root of things. Communicating with one another is spirituality. Learning to understand, equal stand one another is a type of spirituality. You're learning to deal with each other. Connecting to nature is spirituality. Exercise. Connecting with yourself is spirituality. If you lack self-discipline and self-control in doing those activities, you're going to hurt yourself. They complement each other. Religion, spirituality are complementary. They're not oppositions, they're complementary. It's like male and female. Male principle is like religion. Feminine principle is like spirituality. They must be complemented. You can't have one without the other. And that goes, another way of saying religion is discipline. The etymology of religion is to bind. In other words, to hold yourself, to control yourself. That's discipline. Method of securing, religion can be used to control and manipulate you, yes. Into an extreme way, yes, it can. But in its true essence, it does mean structure and order, it just means discipline. Morals and principles. How you regulate your life, how you control your life. If you have no control in your life is going to be chaos. That's undisciplined. Chaos is an energy where energy is just going all over the place with no control. That's undisciplined. Chaos is when energy is out of control. That's spirituality. When you're trying to practice spirituality and you have no control, that's chaos. Powerful, man. Experience has prevented that the simplest method of securing a silent weapon and gaining control of the public and gaining the control over the public is to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant, ignoring the ants below them. The detailed architecture, the unity of the ants. You just heard before, they don't want you to be organized. They want to keep you ignorant. United we stand stronger, together we rise higher. Like, share the video. Let's break through the firewall of the censorship, suppression, and algorithms, and firewalls that YouTube has put up on truth speakers. Let the people know so a positive change can be made. Stop being manipulated. Be the master over the matters rather than the subject under the matters. Be the cause rather than an effect. Silent weapons and gaining control over the public is to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of basic systems, principles. So they don't want you to know how economic science works to control you. They don't want you to know how psychological science is used to control you. They don't want you to know those things. On one hand, while keeping them confused, psychological sorcery, distraction, misdirection is what keeps you confused. Deception keeps you confused because they're mixing truth and lies together. How are you going to discern the truth from the lies? That leads to your state of your confusion. The reason why you can't see the truth from the lies is because it's ignorance. Lacking knowledge. Lacking information. Lacking intelligence. That's how you get confused. Disorganized. And distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand. Emphasis here. They keep you distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand. This is achieved by disengaging their minds. Sheesh! Ooh, sheesh! Are you listening? This is achieved by disengaging their minds. Entertainment, that's what entertainment does. Let's just sit back and relax, take it in, just watch the show. Take away your intellect from you. Your ability to think and reason. That's when they take advantage of you. This is achieved by disengaging their minds, sabotaging their mental activities. Ooh! Providing a low-quality program of public education in mathematics. Sheesh! Logic, system designs and economics, and discouraging technical creativity. Woo! Engaging their emotions, increasing their self-indulgence and their indulgence in emotional and physical activities by unrelenting emotional affrontations of attacks, mental and emotional rape by way of constant barrage of sex, violence, and wars in the media, especially the TV telling you your vision, right? Telepathic vision, telling you your vision, telling you a subliminal message below the radar of your subconscious mind, your thinking mind, especially the TV newspapers, giving them what they desire, 7 deadly sins, greed, gluttony, lust, controlling emotions, wrath, envy, pride, laziness, giving them what they desire in excess, which is greed and gluttony, in excess. Junk food for thought. This is a wrong wrong way to say it, because junk food takes away your thought. The supreme intelligence is telling you the fire of truth today, man. Sheesh. Junk food that takes away your thought is a more accurate way to put it. Woo! Sheesh.
What? Slow motion this side.
Sheesh. Man, rewind that. Sheesh. Engaging their emotions, increasing their self-indulgence, and their indulgence is emotional and physical activities, drug abuse, smoking weed. Oh, let's smoke a bud, brother. Let's blaze some up. You're weak. You're controlled, and you're a slave if you do that. Oh, let's go have a drink. Let's party. Let's go drinking. You're weak. You're a slave if you do that. If that's all you think about, that they made you do that because they want to take away your thinking, your ability to think. They want to take it away. And the truth burns. You may not like to hear that, but the truth burns. But that's what you got to accept. You got to make a positive change to make yourself better. You're wasting your time. You're taking away your ability to grow by you constantly doing that stuff. That's self-destruction. That's what they want you to do. Self-destruction. Those habits are self-destructive to your growth and development. How are you going to grow if that's what you take part in? Drink, smoke, get effed up in the head. That's exactly what they want, and you're a slave. I know a lot of you getting mad about that. That's why some people ran out the chat, because they're mad. Don't get mad at me. I'm the messenger. I'm just telling you what they're doing here through this document. I've been telling you this for years. Engaging their emotions, increasing their self-indulgence and indulgence in emotional and physical activities. Unrelenting emotional affrontations and attacks. Mental and emotional rape by the way of constant barrage of sex, violence, and wars in the media. You keep masturbating all the time, beating yourself, wasting your life energy, and that's what they want. Sheesh. Sheesh. That's exactly what the elite are doing when they see you doing that stuff. They're watching and laughing at you, wasting your energy away, killing yourself off, doing fruitless things. You're taking away your ability to grow and to go to the next level, wasting energy in those various different activities of 7 deadly sins. Giving them what they desire in excess. Junk food for thought. Junk food to take away your thought. Junk food to take away your thought, your thinking. And depriving them of what they really need. Ooh! Nutrition, plant power. Put some respect on that. They want to take away the plant power from you. They want to give you that junk food. They want to give you those dead bodies. Sheesh! They don't want you to access the supreme intelligence. They want to give you dead foods. They don't want to give you living foods. They want to give you death foods. They want to give you diets, death foods. You're dying at it. That's why they want to take away your thought, your thinking ability. They want to take away your intelligence. If that's what you take part in, enjoy that if you want to. Stay a slave if that's what you like doing. Rewriting of history. Whoosh. So you better be questioning every European inventor. Einstein, Tesla, all those people they talk about that supposedly invented. You got to question everything now. Everything is questioned. Everything got to be tested and questioned. Everything got to be researched and put to the test now. Because they could have lied about all of that stuff. In fact, a lot of those so-called highlighted European took their ideas from a lot of the melanated people. They don't tell you that. Rewriting history and law and subjecting the public to the defiant creation, thus being able to shift their thinking from personal needs to highly fabricated outside priorities. They're taking away your objectivity and giving you subjectivity. Beliefs. Feel-good materials. These preclude their interest in the discovery of the silent weapon of social automation technology. The general rule. This is what the people are doing. They're hiding from the truth. Hiding. I'm making the truth very plain so no one has no excuse. The truth is being very plain. So you got to take action. And elevate above this control system. These preclude their interest in and discover of silent weapons of social automation technology. The general rule is that there is a profit in confusion. The general rule is that there is a profit in confusion. It's all about knowledge of self, brothers and sisters. All about knowledge of self. The general rule is there is a profit in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, the best approach is to create problems and then offer solutions. That's the Hegelian dialectic, right? The Hegelian dialectic in action. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Hegelian dialectic. Create the problems, then give you the solutions. Give you the illusion of choice. They're providing you with both options. They're giving you the illusion of choice. Diversion summary. Politics is polytricks. Many tricks. Politics, many tricks. Poly means many. Ticks, add the R, tricks. You've been tricked. The magician's trick has been alluded to you. Sleight of hand. Sheesh. Truth blazing, facts being manufactured in the factory. Fire blaze the truth. Blaze it up. Diversion summary. Media. The mass deception. Keep the adult public attention diverted away from the real social issues. Ooh! Sheesh! The mass media's purpose is to keep the adult public attention diverted, distracted, misdirected, and deceived away from the real social issues and captivated by matters of no real importance. Schools keep the young public ignorant of real mathematics, sacred geometry, real symbolism. They want you trapped in religion to make you think that certain symbols are devilish when you don't realize that those symbols regulate the energy systems in the cipher of life. Those symbols and signs regulate the energy systems in the fabric of the cipher of life. If you lack the understanding, the equal standing, the inner standing, the overstanding of what those symbols mean, you're going to forever remain a slave. Oh, that's the devil. Don't look at that. That's a devil. Lack of understanding. They purposely put a dark energy behind it to make you run away from it, because they don't want you to gain power. You don't realize that the Most High Power uses symbols, sacred geometry to make this fabric holographic world that we're living in. It's all used for a specific organization purpose, to control and regulate the fabric of this reality. All have a purpose, but they trick you, make you think that it's evil and all this stuff. You don't study enough, and that's why you're gonna remain a slave. They want to keep you trapped in superficial religion. That's what separates the ignorant masses from the elite, is knowledge. Knowing how life works, knowing how things move, knowing how things operate. The reason why the masses are in their position and the elite are in a position is because they know about supreme mathematics, in other words, sacred geometry, how shapes provide function in the fabric of this cipher of life that we're living in. Depending on the type of shape you use, the type of organization, shapes are essentially an energy organization. Each energy organization has a purpose and function in regulating and controlling the systems in life, the functions in this life, at overall level in nature. And if you don't know what those shapes do, you're always going to be an effect and not the cause. In other words, a causer is a creditor. It is a master, it is a king, a ruler, a sovereign. The effect is the subject, the slave, the debtor. Schools keep the young public ignorant of real mathematics, real economics, real law, real history, or our story. Take away the history, our story. Entertainment. Enter taint within your mentality. Keep the public entertained below a 6th grade level. Ooh, sheesh. Entertainment. Keep the public entertainment below a 6th grade level.
What? Slow motion this side.
Entertainment. Keep the public entertained below a 6th grade level.
What? Slow motion this side.
Work. Keep the public busy, with no time to think. Whoo! Back on the farm with the what? Back on the farm with other animals. Keep the public busy with no time to think. So that's the key part. No time to think. Sheesh. So you can't focus on your growth and development. Keep the public busy with no time to think and improve their self-development. Oh, I have no time to exercise, brother, sister. I have no time. I'm always working. I'm doing this. Hopefully this pandemic of lockdowns has woken you up. Because there was a lot of time span when you couldn't work. You should have took that opportunity to rethink your whole life and what's really going on. Take that opportunity as a grand reset to make a positive change in your life. Stop being a slave. Stop being a sheep. Following a program every single day. The same thing every day you're doing. Take that opportunity to actually do something of purpose and of value in life. Consent. The primary victory. A silent weapon system operates upon data obtained from a docile public. Highlight that. A silent weapon system operates upon data obtained from a docile public by legal but not always lawful force. Pay attention to that. Legal, but not lawful. So this tells you that there's a difference between legal and lawful. A lot of you think it's one and the same. It isn't. Legality, legal, is counterfeit to law. Oh, that's illegal to do this, do that. That's counterfeit. The real thing, the real law, is of nature. Regulations, enactments, and rules that are made by man, those are legal. And those don't apply to natural law. Those are the additional control mechanisms used to regulate you. Legality has the illusion of the force of law, but it isn't actually law. It acts as law, but it's not law. So, to metaphorize this, legality can be connected to paper money. That's counterfeit to actual money. Lawful money is silver and gold. Resources that come from the minerals. The minerals of the planet, that's real money. The resources of the planet, that's real money. So lawful stuff is natural stuff, which is the minerals. Legal stuff is artificial, manipulated things. So now you're starting to understand. Legality is artificial measures. Lawfulness is organic measures. And don't they want you to become an artificial person? They want to take you from your organic natural intelligence to an artificial synthetic intelligence. They want to take away your rights and give you privileges. And they do it through legal means. They can't do it through lawful means because you have certain rights under law. Ground common law. But the way they kind of subvert that law is like give you legal law. Traffic violations, all that stuff is all foolishness. Oh, if you go over a speed limit, you're gonna get a ticket. For what? Legally, if you violate the legal law, you're gonna get a ticket for speeding. But in the actual law, in real law, you're only gonna get penalized if you cause injury to something, a person, place, or thing. So I'm going to break this on another way. Legal wise, if you break the law in a legal way, they could give you a fine for not following the rule or regulation or enactment. And you don't have to injure somebody to do that. If you just break it but there's no cause and effect, you're going to get a fine, a ticket for breaking a rule. But under the underground law, if there's no injured party, there's no damaged property, there's no cause and effect in any way, you can't get penalized. So in actuality, there has to be, in real law, if there's no cause and effect, you haven't broken anything. Are you getting it? Why are you getting penalized if you haven't harmed anything? You haven't harmed a person, place, or thing. But since you subjected yourself under the legal title of law, you're going to get penalized whether you harm someone or not. You get penalized. But in actuality, real law dictates you only get penalized if you cause harm to a person, place, or thing. If there's no effect from your cause, why are you getting penalized? Did you cause an accident directly? Did you damage property directly? Or did you cause someone do you cause someone else to get an accident based on your actions? That's real law. I gotta emphasize this. Real law is, I'm using traffic as an example because traffic rules and laws, that's counterfeit to actual law. That's dealing with the legal side. If you're speeding, oh, you're gonna get a ticket for that. You broke the law. You broke the legal law. You get a ticket for that. And a lot of you just say, oh, okay, I'm just gonna pay it. Very few people actually go to court and defend it. They're getting taken advantage of. At the end of the day, if that constable doesn't have an injured party, doesn't have damaged property, doesn't have any other cause and effect, if they don't have anything any damages in any form, what are they going to say? If there's no cause and effect, if there's no harm, there's no foul. If there is no harm, there is no foul. There has to be harm. You got to produce something of damage. That's what law dictates. If you claiming that someone broke a law, what damage can you show that this person has done? Whether it's a person, whether it's in a place, and whether it's a thing, property, can you produce those things? If you cannot produce those things, there is no broken of any law. Legally, they could easily get away with it because they could easily make stuff up. And that's how they get you. Law's contract. Contract is law. A silent weapon system operates upon data obtained from a docile public by legal, but not always lawful. Ooh, fresh. Lawful force. Much information is made available to silent weapon system programmers through the Internal Revenue Agency. See Studies in Structural American Economy for IRS source list. This information consists of enforced delivery of well-organized data contained in federal and state tax forms, collected, assembled, and submitted by slave labor, provided by taxpayers and employers. Furthermore, the number of such forms submitted to the IRS is a useful indicator of public consent. I hope you're paying attention here. It's all about consent. This is all about consent. Tax, that's consent. All that stuff you consent to. Other data sources are given to the short list of inputs, consent coefficients, numerical feedback indicating victory status, psychological basis. When the government is able to collect tax and seize private property without just compensation, it is an indication that the public is ripe for surrender and is consenting to enslavement and legal encroachment. Extortion. A good and easily quantified indicator of harvest time is the number of public citizens who pay income tax despite obvious lack of reciprocal or honest service from the government. A lot of you don't even realize that income is talking about profit. If you're just working to make a basic living, that's not profit. So you're getting deceived. Public citizens who pay income tax despite an oblivious lack of reciprocal or honest service from the government. You don't even know what income is. You think income is just you making your wage. No. Income is... The reason why they could tax you is because you put yourself under the contract. Income is the profit, meaning extra money you're receiving, therefore you have to be taxed. Amplification energy sources. The next step in the process of designating an economic amplifier is discovering the energy sources. The energy sources which support any primitive economic system are, of course, a supply of raw materials and the consent of people to labor. And consequently, assume a certain rank, position, level, or class in the social structure to provide labor at various levels in the pecking order. Each class, in guaranteeing its own level of income, controls the class immediately below it, hence preserves the class structure. This provides stability and security, but also government from the top. As time goes on and communication and education improve, the lower class elements of the social labor structure become knowledgeable and envious of the good things that the upper class members have. They also begin to attain a knowledge of energy systems and ability to enforce their rise through the class structure. Another thing I have to add, this is why the rich pay very little to no taxes. But why does the middle class and poor pay so much taxes? Ignorance. Ignorance. The reason why the rich, right, and the rich are able to get rid of paying a lot of getting away in paying taxes, very little to no taxes, is because they're creditors, they're producing. Producers get benefits. Consumers get detriments. Learn to be a producer. This threatens the sovereignty of the elite. If this rise of the lower classes can be postponed long enough, the elite can achieve energy dominance. It's all about energy control. If this rise of the lower class can be postponed long enough, the elite can achieve energy dominance.
What? Slow motion this side.
If the elite If the rise of the lower class can be postponed long enough, the elite can achieve energy dominance, and labor by consent no longer will hold a position of an essential energy source until such energy dominance is absolutely established. The consent of the people to labor and to let others handle their affairs, that's the reason why you can't really truly defend yourself in court, because you're seen as a child of the state, incompetent to handle your own affairs. That's why you got to change your status from a slave state to a self-sovereign governing state. Until such energy dominance is absolutely established, the consent of the people to labor and let others handle their affairs must be taken into consideration, since failure to do so could cause the people to interfere in the final transfer of energy sources to the control of the elite. It is essential to recognize that at this time, public consent is still an essential key to the release of energy in this process of economic amplification. Therefore, consent as an energy release mechanism will now be considered. Law is contract. Contract is law. If you consent to a contract, that makes it law. Logistics. The successful application of strategy requires a careful study of inputs, outputs of the strategy, connecting the inputs and the outputs, and the available energy sources to fuel strategy. This study is called logistics. This means that a given system is analyzed, example, broken down into subsystems, and these in turn are analyzed until by this process one arrives at a logistical atom, the individual. This is where the process of synthesis properly begins. Remember the Hegelian dialectic. Thesis, antithesis into synthesis. Properly begins. Problem, action, solution. This is where the process of synthesis properly begins, and the time of birth of the individual, the artificial womb. From the time a person leaves his mother womb, its every effort is directed towards buildings, maintaining, and withdrawing into artificial wombs, various sorts of substitutes, protective devices, or shells. From the time a person leaves its mother's womb, the organic womb, they go into other wombs. Its every effect is directed toward buildings, maintaining and withdrawing into artificial wombs, various sorts of substitutes, protective devices, or shells. The objective of these artificial wombs is to provide a stable environment for both stable and unstable activity, to provide a shelter for the evolutionary processes of growth and maturity, survival, to provide security for the freedom, and to provide defensive protection for the offensive activity. This is equally true of both the general public and the elite. However, there is a definite difference in the way each of these classes go about the solution of problems. The political structure of a nation's dependency. The primary reason why the individual citizen of a country create a political structure is a subconscious wish or desire to perpetuate their own dependencies relationship of childhood. Simply put, they want a human God to eliminate all risk from their life, pat them on the head, kiss their bruises, put a chicken on every dinner table, clothe their bodies, tuck them into a bed at night, and tell them that everything will be alright when they wake up in the morning. This public demand is incredible, so the human god, the politician, meets incredibility with the incredibility by promising the world and delivering nothing. The public demand is incredible, so the human god or the human king, the human ruler, the politician, meets incredibility with incredibility by promising the world and delivering nothing. So who is the bigger liar? Truth blazing, facts being manufactured in a factory. Fire blast, fire burn. Let's go with the fire of truth. Sheesh. You need to hear this again. The public demand is incredible, man. Sheesh. It's too powerful. This Shush. The public demand is incredible. So the human god, the politician, meets incredibility with incredibility by promising the world and delivering nothing. So who is bigger liar, the public or the godfather? The public behavior is surrendered, born of fear, laziness, and expectancy. It is the basis of the welfare state as a strategy weapon, useful against disgusting public. Sheesh. Action offense. Most people want to be able to subdue and or kill other human beings which disturb their daily lives, but they do not want to have to cope with the moral and religious issues which such a overt act on their part might raise. Therefore, they assign the dirty work to others, including their own children, so as to keep the blood of their hands clean. They rave about their humane treatment of the animals and then sit down to a delicious hamburger from a white-washed slaughterhouse down the street and out of sight. Hypocrites, contradictors. And you see that on a daily basis. People talking like they're so have morals and principles, but then they're doing all of that stuff. Just because they don't take part in the slaughter, if you're eating that stuff, it's one thing if you're living in the wild and you're doing it out of necessity, but it's another thing if you're just eating out of greed and gluttony. That's another thing entirely, and that's what masses are doing, out of greed and gluttony. Oh, it tastes good, so I'm going to keep eating. Don't realize that they're stacking karma on their behind. Therefore, they assign the dirty work to others, including their own children, so as to keep the blood off their hands. They rave about the human treatment of animals and then sit down to a delicious hamburger from a whitewashed slaughterhouse down the street and street out of sight. But even more hypocritical, they pay taxes to finance a professional association of a hitmen, collectively called politicians, and then complain about corruption in the government. Responsibility. Again, most people want to be free to do the things, to explore, etc., but they are afraid to fail. The fear of failure is manifested in irresponsibility, and especially in delegating those personal responsibilities to others where success is uncertain or carries possible or created liabilities, law, which the person is not prepared to accept. That's why people hide behind corporations, straw men, limited liability clauses. The more freedom that you want, the more responsibility and accountability you must take on. The more freedom that you want, the more responsibility and accountability you must take on. And most people are undisciplined. They can't even handle true freedom because they're not responsible. They're not accountable. They're undisciplined. That's why the masses stay in the matrix under legalities and limited liabilities. Because they can't take responsibility. Again, most people want to be free to do the things to explore, but they are afraid to fail. The fear of failure is manifested in responsibility, and especially in delegating those personal responsibilities to the where success is uncertain or carries possible or created liabilities law, which is the person is not prepared to accept. They want authority, root word, author. But will they not accept responsibility or liability? They want authority, root word, author, but they will not accept responsibility or liability. They hire politicians to face reality for them. Summary. The people hire the politicians so that the people can obtain security without managing it, obtain action without thinking about it, inflict theft, injury, and death upon others without having to contemplate either life or death, avoid responsibility for their own intentions, obtain the benefits of reality and science without exerting themselves in discipline and facing or learning either of these things for themselves. They give the politicians the power to create and manage a war machine, to provide the survival of the nation's womb, prevent encroachment of anything upon the nation's womb, destroying the enemy who threatens the nation/womb, destroy the citizens of their own country who do not conform for the sake of the stability of the nation's womb. Politicians hold many quasi-military jobs, the lowest being the police, which are soldiers, the attorneys and CPAs next, who are spies and saboteurs, licensed, lie to senses, licensed. When you're licensed, you're lying to your senses. Licensed, lying to your senses, lie senses. And the judges who shout orders and run the closed union military shop for whatever the market will bear. The generals are industrialists. The presidential level of commander-in-chief is shared by the international bankers. The people know that they have created this farce and financed it with their own taxes, consent. See? Don't blame the government. Don't blame anybody but yourself. You gave your power away. That's why when you vote, you sent your voltage, your currency, your energy out to that politician, and you elected them with electricity. You went to the poll and you provided your vote, your voltage, to give them electricity and magnetism, right? The poll is the polarity. You chose a poll and you provided the voltage to that poll, and you electrified that candidate to do that, to do whatever service that you wanted to do on your behalf, because you're too irresponsible, you're undisciplined to do it for yourself. You can't take care of yourself. And that's what the masses represent. Lazy. 7 deadly sins. The people know. So when you look at the grocery stores and you're complaining about foods are being genetically modified and all that stuff, that seeds and foods are junk food, lack of nutrition, who put that in there? The people did. Because what do the people want? Oh, I want food that tastes good. I want food that's sweet, sugary. The reason why you're dying early, you have disease, because you put that food there, because you support the food. You voted for that food. oh, seeds are so inconvenient in fruits. I'm tired of seeds, so let's get seeds. Get rid of it. Who do you think did that? The people voted that in. All the power lies in the people. Whatever you purchase, you're voting for. Politicians hold many quasi-military jobs, the lowest being the police, which are soldiers, the attorneys, the CPAs, next to are spies, saboteurs, license, as I said. License is when your senses are being lied to. Lie to your senses.
What? Slow motion this side.
So you gotta use your real eye to realize the lies. The generals are industrialists. The presidential level of commander-in-chief is shared by the international bankers. The presidential level of commander-in-chief is shared by the international bankers. The people know that they have created this farce and financed it with their own taxes, consent. But they would rather knuckle under than to be the hypocrite. Point the blame and finger at others when they set it up themselves by voting and setting that system up. Thus, a nation becomes divided into two very distinct parts. A docile subnation, great silent majority, and a political subnation. The political subnation remains attached to the docile subnation, tolerates it, leeches its substances until it grows strong enough to detach itself and then devour its parent. System analysis. In order to make meaningful computerized economic decisions about war, the primary economic flywheel, it is necessary to assign concrete logistical values to each element of war structure, personal and material alike. The process begins with a clear and candid description of the subsystem of such structure, the draft as military service. Few efforts of human behavior modifications are more remarkable or more effective than that of the social military institution known as the draft. A primary purpose of a draft or other such institution is to instill, by intimidation, in the young males of society the uncritical conviction that the government is omnipotent, omnipotent. He is soon taught that a prayer is slow to reverse what a bullet can do in an instant. Thus, a man trained in a religious environment for 18 years of his life can be this instrumental of the government, be broken down, be purged of his fantasies and delusions in a matter of mere months. Once that conviction is instilled, all else becomes easy to instill or install in you, whatever program that they want. Even more interesting is the process by which a young man's parents, who purportedly love him or her, can be induced to send him off or her to war to his death. Although the scope of this work will not allow this matter to be expanded in full detail, nevertheless, a coarse overview will be possible and can serve to reveal these factors. which must be included in some numerical form in a computer analysis of social and war systems. We begin with a tentative definition of draft. The draft selection service is an institutional of compulsory collective sacrifice and slavery devised by the middle-aged and elderly for the purpose of pressing the young into doing the public's dirty work. It further serves to make the youth as guilty as the elders, thus making criticism of the elders by the youth less likely generalization stabilizer. It is marked and is sold to the public under the label of patriotic national service. Once a candid economic definition of draft is achieved, that definition is used to outline the boundaries of a structure called human value system, which in turn is translated into the terms of game theory. They're playing tricks on you. The value of such a slave labor is given in a table of human values. A table broken down into categories by intellect, experience, post-service job demand, etc. Some of these categories are ordinarily and can be tentatively evaluated in terms of the value of certain jobs for which a known fee exists. Some jobs are harder to value because they are unique to the demands of social subversion. For an extreme example, the value of a mother's instruction to her daughter, causing a daughter to put certain behavioral demands upon a future husband 10 or 15 years. Hence, thus by suppressing his or her resistance to a perversion of a government, making it easier for a banking cartel to buy the state of New York in, say, 20 years, such a problem leans heavily upon the observations of data of wartime, espionage, and many types of psychological testing. But crude mathematical models, algorithms, can be devised, if not to predict. AI infrastructure uses algorithms to predict and to monitor and surveillance you. Can be devised, if not to predict, at least to predetermine these events with maximum certainty. What does not exist by natural cooperation is thus enhanced by calculated compulsion. Human beings are machines, organic machines, levers which may be grasped and turned, and there is little real difference between automating a society or automating a shoe factory. Let that marinate on your chrome dome, your neural pathways.
What? Slow motion this side.
Human beings are organic machines, levers which may be grasped and turned, and there is little real difference between automating a society and automating a shoe factory. These derived values are variable. It is necessary to use a current table of human values for computer analysis. These values are given in true measures rather than dollars, since the latter is unstable, being presently inflated beyond the production of national goods and services so as to give economy a false kinetic energy, paper inductance. The silver value is stable, it being possible to buy the same amount with a gram of silver today as it could be bought in 1920. Human values measured in silver units changes slightly due to the changes in production technology. Enforcement. Okay, we're pretty much done this. We're almost done this article. Okay. Enforcement, last section. Factor 1. As in every social system approach, stability is achieved only by understanding and accounting for human nature, action, reaction, patterns. A failure to do so can be, and usually is, disastrous. As in other human social schemes, one form and another is intimidation or incentive is essential to success of the draft. Physical principles of action and reaction must be applied to both internal and external subsystems. To secure the draft, individual brainwashing, or in other words, programming, and both the family unit and the peer group must be engaged and brought under control. And how do they do that? Entertainment. Entertain within your mentality, your mind. That's how they tame you. Through the television. Tells you your vision. Telepathic vision. Below the radar of your conscious thinking mind. Factor 2. Father. The man of the household must be housebroken to ensure that Junior will grow up with the right social training and attitudes. Won't be manly. They'll become feminized because they're risen by the woman. The man of the household must be housebroken to ensure that juniors will grow up with the right social training and attitudes. The advertising media are engaged to see to it that the father to be is pussy whipped before by the time he is married. The advertising media are engaged to see to it that the father is pussy whipped before or by the time he is married. He is taught that he either conforms to the social notch cut out for him or his sex life. He is taught that he is either conforms to the social notch cut out for him in his sex life will be hobbled and his tender companionship will be zero. He is made to see that a woman demands security more than logical, principled, or honorable behavior. Sheesh. By the time his son must go to war, father will jelly for the backbone, will slam a gun into the junior's hand before the father will risk the censure of his peers, or make a hypocrite of himself by crossing the investment he has in his own personal opinion of self-esteem. Junior will go to war, or father will be embarrassed. So Junior will go to war, the true purpose notwithstanding. Factor 3. Mother. The female element of human society is ruled by emotion first and logic second. In the battle between logic and imagination, imagination always wins. Fantasy prevails. Maternal instinct dominates, so that the child comes first and the future comes second. A woman with a newborn baby is too starry-eyed to see a wealthy man's cannon fodder or cheap source of slave labor. A woman must, however, be conditioned to accept the transition to reality when it comes, or sooner. As the transition becomes more difficult to manage, the family unit must be carefully disintegrated, and state-controlled public education and state-operated child care centers must become more common and legally enforced so as to begin the detachment of the child from the mother and the father at an early age. And we know that the strategy is practiced in the black community heavily, more than anybody else, by far. By far. There's no comparison here. This strategy is practiced upon the black family, the melanated people, more than anybody else. This cannot be denied, this cannot be debated, this cannot be refuted. And that's the agenda, to keep the original human family to the on the bottom of the pyramid. They don't want them to get back to the capstone of the pyramid. They want to keep them at the bottom. As long as they're at the bottom, the so-called people in charge stay in their position. Once the organic family, the original human family, awakens to their Nupu state, their state of supreme intelligence, their state of scientific life, it's going to be flipped. Because they're the original ones who came up with all the information and intelligence on this planet. As the transition becomes more difficult to manage, the family unit must be carefully disintegrated, and state-controlled public education and state-operated child care centers must become more common and legally enforced so as to begin the detachment of the child from the mother and the father at an early age. Inoculation of behavioral drugs, Ritalin, can speed the transition for the child mandatorily. Caution. A woman's impulsive anger can override her fear. An irate woman's power must never be underestimated, and her power over a pussy whipped husband must likewise never be underestimated. It got women the vote in 1920. Sheesh. A lot of you men getting beat up by your women, man. Because that lust is controlling you. Sheesh. Let that marinate in your chrome dome, your neuron pathways, man. The female element of a human society is ruled by emotion first and logic second. In the battle, so this is another connection. Emotions is like spirituality. Reason and logic is like religion. In the battle between logic and imagination, imagination always wins. Fantasy prevails. Maternal instinct dominates so that the child comes first and the future comes second. A woman with a newborn baby is too starry-eyed to see the wealthy man's cannon fodder or cheap source of slave labor. A woman must, however, be conditioned to accept the transition to reality when it comes to, or sooner. As the transition becomes more difficult to manage, the family unit must be carefully disintegrated, and state-controlled public education and state-operated child care centers must become more common and legally enforced so as to begin the detachment of Ritalin, for example. Where am I at? Hold up. Legally enforced as to begin the detachment of the child from the mother of the father at an early age. Inoculation of behavioral drugs, Ritalin, for example, can speed the transition for the child's mandatorily. Caution. A woman's impulsive anger can override her fear. An irate woman's power must be never underestimated, and her power over a pussy whipped husband must likewise never be underestimated. It got women the vote in 1920.
What? Slow motion this side.
The emotional pressure for self-preservation during the time of war and self-serving attitude of common herd that an option to avoid the battlefield if Junior can be persuaded to go is all pressure finally necessary to propel Johnny off to war. Their quiet blackmail of him are the threats, no sacrifice, no friends, no glory, no girlfriends. Factor 5, sister. And what about junior sister? She is given all the good things of life by her father and taught to expect the same from our future husband regardless of the price. 6 factor, cattle. 6th factor, cattle. Those who will not use their brains are no better off than those who have no brains. And so this mindless school of jellyfish, father, mother, son, and daughter, become useful beasts of burden, of trainers of the same. Sheesh. Those who will not use their brains are no better off than those who have no brains. So in other words, those who have knowledge but don't use the knowledge are no better than the ignorant people who do not know the knowledge. And so this mindless school of jellyfish, father, mother, son, daughter, become useful beasts of burden or trainers of the same. Sheesh. Truth blazing, facts being manufactured in a factory. You know what time it is, my brothers and sisters. You better be sharing this fire of truth right here. Like, share, and blaze up the bell icon for all notifications to get that fire of truth. You gotta come from the bottom of the pyramid there and get to the top of the capstone when it comes to the knowledge and wisdom. You gotta stop being a slave, being stuck in watching entertainment all the time because you're tainting your mind. That entertainment you be watching better be educating you. Words to the wise. Anyways, that is the fire of truth, and nothing but the whole, living, unified truth, my brothers and sisters. Until next time, stay sitting on the edge of your seats for more fire of truth, blazing broadcast. You know what time it is, my brothers and sisters. Awaken your mind and get your behind back to the organic, get to that mainframe of Almighty Nature, which is the collective consciousness, the unified field of the divine, the great vine, derived from the vine in which you get your information, knowledge, wisdom, and supreme intelligence from. Listen to reason, rays from the sun, and listen to wisdom. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I leave you with the outro. You know what time it is. Pass the truth on the left-hand side, ayy. Pass the truth on the right-hand side, whoa. Pass the truth on the bottom-hand side, ayy. Pass the truth on the top-hand side, whoa. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your night, wherever you are in the world. Solutions all day, every day, all night, all the time. The cloud of my mind, you see here, connecting the dots for you, connecting the pieces of the puzzle around the world so you can get the holistic truth. You know what time it is. 3 things that cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Wisdom is the principal thing. There is nothing more ancient than the truth. So why are you wasting your time in all these other things out here when you should be focused on the truth? There's nothing more ancient than the truth. Fire burn facts, truth blazing, facts be manufactured in a factory. Fire blast, fire burn. Let's go. Holistic true peace, true power, and true elevation. Enjoy the rest of your night and day, my brothers and sisters. Peace.
Check it, listen, coming through, fire burn. I'm an intellectual to the precise decimal, mathematical root radicals. So we see this, I mean this, the fire of truth. From the sheer might, the fire of truth. Preach, teach, the fire of truth.
Just levitate, levitate, keep your head straight. Just levitate, levitate, Even if the world is so cold, we just levitate, levitate, shed these lies.
Balance is key, foundation you see, harmony we see, nature we free, spirit we agree, preach and teach, the flock we reach, peace we feast, Ecclesiastics 3, Barak Shalom hour, inner peace power, reason in season, there's meaning in beacon and wisdom we season. Peace to the Most High, the Most High, 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 peace to the Most High, the Most High.